I am Joshua, 32 years old, and my family went on a luxury vacation to Paris using money I lent them for an emergency home repair, leaving me behind while telling me they were broke. Before I tell you about the scorching earth revenge I took on my own flesh and blood, let me know where you guys are watching from in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories travel. It started on a Tuesday morning, the kind of Tuesday that feels like it's dragging its feet through wet cement. I was standing in my kitchen, staring at a piece of leftover pepperoni pizza revolving in the microwave. It was my breakfast. I'm a 32-year-old man, a director of marketing at a major tech firm in Seattle, and I was eating rubbery pizza for breakfast because I was too depressed to make eggs. Why was I depressed? Because 5 days earlier, my mother, Cameron, had called me in tears. I remember exactly where I was when that call came in. I was at my desk, looking over the Q4 budget reports, feeling good about my salary bump and the promotion I'd just secured. I saw a mom flash on my iPhone screen and picked up immediately. "Hey, Mom, I was just about to call you about the itinerary," I said, my voice full of genuine excitement. We were supposed to go to Paris. All of us. Me, my parents, my younger brother Caleb, my sister Braden, her husband, and their kids. It was supposed to be the big Mitchell family reunion, a celebration of my parents' 35th anniversary and, coincidentally, a celebration of my recent professional success. I had been clearing my schedule for months, but on the other end of the line there was just sniffling. "Josh," she sobbed. "Oh, Josh, honey, I don't know how to tell you this." My stomach dropped. "What's wrong? Is Dad okay? Is it Caleb?" No, everyone is healthy," she said, blowing her nose loudly. It's the money, Josh. We have to cancel the trip." "Cancel? Mom, we're supposed to fly out in 10 days. "I know," she wailed, "but your father's medical bills from the checkup came back, and the insurance isn't covering the specialist like we thought. And then, oh God, the car. The transmission on the Lincoln just died completely yesterday. The mechanic wants $4,000 just to get it running again." I sat back in my ergonomic office chair, rubbing my temples. "Mom, breathe. How much are we talking?" "Too much," she said, her voice trembling with that practiced fragility I had known my whole life. "We just can't justify a trip to Europe right now. We have to be responsible. We're going to lose the deposits on the flights, but we just can't go." "I'm so sorry, honey. I know how hard you worked for this time off." I felt a heavy blanket of disappointment settle over me. Paris was on my bucket list. I had reserved a table at a specific bistro I'd read about in a culinary magazine. But I'm the responsible one. I'm the eldest son. I'm the one who fixes things. "Mom, listen," I said, switching into problem-solving mode. "I can help with the transmission. I have some savings set aside." "No," she cut in quickly. Too quickly. "No, Joshua. You do enough. You already helped us with the roof a few months ago. I cannot take more money from you. We just need to tighten our belts. We'll stay home, maybe do a staycation. We just want you to know so you can cancel your time off and maybe get some money back on your ticket." "I booked with points," I muttered. "I can get the miles back." "Good," she said. "That's good. We're just heartbroken. Caleb is devastated. You know how much he wanted to see the Louvre." Caleb, my 28-year-old brother who still lived in my parents' basement, in between opportunities. The golden child. If Caleb was devastated, that meant the household was currently a war zone of tantrums. "I'm sorry, Mom," I said, feeling a pang of guilt that I was financially stable while my parents were struggling with medical bills and car repairs. "Look, don't worry about the anniversary dinner. Why don't I send you guys something? Go to that Italian place downtown, Luigi's. Have a nice dinner on me. At least celebrate the date." "You are such a good son," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I don't deserve you." I hung up feeling like a saint, but a sad saint. I opened my banking app and transferred $500 to my mother's account with the memo, Anniversary dinner, love you guys. That was 5 days ago. So, there I was, watching my pizza spin, feeling bad for my parents stuck in rainy Seattle with a broken car and mounting debt. I took the hot plate out, burning my thumb slightly, and sat down at the island counter. My phone buzzed. A Facebook notification. Hunter Mitchell posted 87 photos to the album, Mitchell Family Paris Adventure. I froze. A piece of pepperoni slid off my slice and landed on the granite counter with a greasy splat. Hunter. Aunt Hunter. My dad's younger sister. She was a bit of a loose cannon, always posting political rants and blurry photos of her cats. But this title was specific. Mitchell Family Paris Adventure. My brain tried to reject the information. Maybe it was an old album? Maybe she was reposting photos from a trip they took 10 years ago? But they hadn't been to Paris 10 years ago. I unlocked my phone. My thumb hovered over the notification. My heart started to hammer against my ribs. A slow, heavy thudding that echoed in my ears. I tapped it. The screen filled with the cover photo. There they were, standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. The sky was a brilliant, cloudless blue. The kind of blue it had been yesterday in the weather reports for France I'd idly checked out of habit. My dad, Robert, was wearing a beret. A beret. He looked ridiculous, but he was smiling a smile I hadn't seen in years. My mom, Cameron, was next to him, holding a massive bouquet of roses, looking radiant. My sister Braden was there with her husband and their 2 kids. And in the center, striking a pose that belonged in a GQ magazine spread, was Caleb. He was wearing a trench coat that I knew for a fact cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. They were all wearing matching red scarves. I swiped to the next photo. The timestamp was from yesterday. Location: Trocadero Gardens, Paris, France. I swiped again. Champs-Élysées. The Louvre. A river cruise on the Seine. There were 87 photos. 87 pieces of evidence documenting a lie so massive, so elaborate, that I couldn't comprehend the scale of it. I didn't scream. I didn't throw my phone. I just sat there, the smell of reheated pizza suddenly making me nauseous. The silence in my apartment was deafening. I looked at the caption on the album again. My Aunt Hunter had written, "So jealous of the Mitchell clan living it up in the city of light. Looks like the trip of a lifetime. Happy anniversary Robert and Cameron." And then I saw my mother's comment underneath. "Best family trip ever. So grateful for these memories with my loves." My loves. Plural. The photo showed everyone. Everyone except me. I put the phone down on the counter, face up. The screen hadn't timed out yet, so Caleb's grinning face was still staring at me. "Money problems," I whispered to the empty room. "Transmission. Medical bills." The betrayal didn't hit me like a sharp knife. It hit me like a dull, heavy sledgehammer to the gut. It wasn't just that they went without me. Families take trips. If they had said, "Josh, we want a trip with just the grandkids and Caleb," I would have been hurt. Sure, but I would have accepted it. No, this was different. They had told me they were broke. They had canceled my plans. They had accepted my $500 sympathy money. And all the while they were packing their bags. I looked at the date of the first photo. It was taken at Seattle-Tacoma Airport the same day I sent the $500. They were literally at the gate, waiting to board a flight to France, when my mother was on the phone with me, crying about a broken car. A coldness started to spread through my chest, replacing the shock. It was a clarity I had never felt before. I realized in that moment that I didn't just have a difficult family. I had a family that viewed me as a resource, an obstacle, but never a person. I took a bite of my cold pizza. Tasted like cardboard. I chewed it slowly, mechanically. Then the phone buzzed again. A text message. It was Mom. "Hi, honey. Hope work is going well. The scanner is acting up again, and Dad has some documents he needs to send to the accountant. Can you come by this weekend and fix it? We'd love to see you." The audacity was breathtaking. They must have just landed. They were probably still jet-lagged. And her first instinct wasn't to confess. It wasn't to apologize. It was to ask for tech support. I looked at the photo of them in Paris. Then I looked at the text asking me to fix a scanner. I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I unlocked my phone and opened a new note. I typed a single line, Project Paris. I wasn't going to get mad. I was going to get even. But to understand why this cut so deep, you have to understand the money. Specifically, the $20,000. To understand why seeing those photos felt like a physical assault, you have to understand the dynamic of the Mitchell house. I was the eldest, the responsible one. In family therapy terms, I was the hero child turned scapegoat/provider. Caleb was the golden child. Braden was the lost child who learned to manipulate to be seen. 6 months ago, I had finally hit a milestone I'd been chasing for 5 years. I made director. The salary increase was substantial, enough that I could finally breathe easier about my own retirement and maybe, just maybe, start a college fund for the kids Ryan and I hope to have one day. I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to treat my parents. They had always complained about never seeing Europe. So, over Sunday dinner, I pitched the idea. Paris, I had said, beaming. For your 35th anniversary, I can use my frequent flyer miles for some of the tickets, and we can rent a big Airbnb. Mom had clapped her hands. Dad had actually looked up from his iPad. Even Caleb seemed interested, mostly asking if the clubs in Paris were dope. We can't let you pay for everything, Josh, Dad had said, puffing out his chest a bit. We have some savings. We'll handle the flights. You just handle the logistics. You're good at that. I was touched. Felt like a partnership. A family unit working together. But then came the roof incident. 3 months ago, right around the time we should have been booking everything, Dad called me. His voice was grim. It's the house, Josh. The heavy rains last week. The master bedroom ceiling is buckling. The contractor says it's structural. Black mold potential. We need a full roof replacement and structural reinforcement. I rushed over. They showed me a water stain on the ceiling. It looked bad, but I'm not a contractor. How much? I asked. 25,000, Dad said, looking defeated. We have 5, but that's the Paris money, Josh. And the emergency fund. We're tapped out. Mom started crying. We'll lose the house if the mold spreads. We can't go to Paris. We can't do anything. Caleb was sitting on the couch, playing video games, not even looking up. Yeah, sucks bro, he muttered. I looked at my parents. They looked old, fragile. I thought about them living in a mold-infested house. I thought about my salary and how I had just boasted about my raise. I can lend it to you, I said. The words tasted heavy in my mouth. Oh no, we couldn't, Mom said, clutching my arm. That's too much. I'll give you 20,000, I said. It's a lot of my savings, basically the down payment for the new place Ryan and I wanted, but the house is more important. Consider it an interest-free loan. Pay me back when you can. Ryan, my fiancé, was furious when I told him. Josh, that's insane, Ryan had said, pacing our living room. That money was for our house, for our future. Did you even see the contractor's quote? Did you talk to the roofer? I trust my dad, Ryan, I had snapped, defending them as I always did. They're my parents. They wouldn't lie about structural damage. Ryan had just shaken his head, eyes filled with a sad sort of resignation. You have a blind spot the size of Texas when it comes to them. Just get it in writing. I didn't get it in writing. I wired the $20,000 the next morning. You saved us, Mom had texted. You literally saved our home. So, for the last 3 months, I believed my parents were living in a construction zone. I believed they were scraping by. When they said they had to cancel the trip due to medical bills and the car, it made sense. They were already $20,000 in the hole for the roof. Of course, they couldn't afford Paris. Which brings us back to the photos. I was still sitting in my kitchen, staring at the Mitchell family Paris adventure album. I stood up and walked over to my laptop. I needed a bigger screen. I logged into Facebook on my desktop monitor. The photos were high resolution. Aunt Hunter had a new iPhone, and she knew how to use it. I clicked on photo number 12. My mom, sitting at a sidewalk cafe, holding a croissant. She was wearing a silk scarf I'd never seen before. On the table, a bottle of Moët and Chandon champagne. Caption: Living my dream. I clicked on photo number 23. Dad and Caleb standing in front of the Mona Lisa. They had purchased the priority access passes. I could tell by the lanyards around their necks. Those cost €100 a pop. I clicked on photo number 42, and that's when the breath left my lungs. It was Caleb, my unemployed brother. He was leaning against a car. Not just any car. A bright red Ferrari 488 Spider. The backdrop was the Place Vendôme, one of the most expensive squares in Paris. At first, I thought he was just posing next to a parked car he found, like a tourist. But then I looked closer. He was holding the keys. He was sitting on the hood. And the caption: Caleb Mitchell. When in Paris, ride in style. Hashtag Lumbalife, hashtag Ferrari, actually hashtag baller. I zoomed in on the license plate. It was a rental tag from a luxury exotic car rental agency called Elite Rent-A-Car Paris. I quickly opened a new tab and Googled the rental rates for a Ferrari 488 in Paris. €1,200 per day, plus a €10,000 security deposit. My hands started to shake. Not from sadness anymore, but from a rage so hot it felt like my blood was boiling. He was driving a rental car that cost more per day than my mortgage, using money that I was now 99% sure was mine. The roof, I whispered. There was no roof. I grabbed my phone and scrolled back through my texts with Dad from 3 months ago. I found the date of the wire transfer, July 14th. Then I looked at the album again. Aunt Hunter had posted a photo of their flight tickets in a throwback-style collage in the comments. Booked our tickets. Paris, here we come. The date on the ticket confirmation in the blurry photo. July 16th. 2 days after I wired the money. They didn't fix the roof. They took my $20,000, waited 48 hours, and booked 7 tickets to Paris. First class probably, judging by the legroom in photo number 1. I heard the front door unlock. Ryan was home early from his shift at the hospital. He walked in, looking tired but smiling. Hey babe, I was thinking, since you're bummed about the trip, maybe we go grab some sushi and... He stopped. He saw my face. Josh. He dropped his bag. What happened? Is it your mom? I didn't speak. I just turned the monitor toward him. Ryan walked over, confused. He looked at the photo of Caleb on the Ferrari. He looked at the photo of the family under the Eiffel Tower. He looked at the dates. Wait, Ryan said, his brow furrowing. I thought the transmission was broken? I thought they were broke. They are broke, I said, my voice sounding like gravel. They're broke because they spent my $20,000 on a European vacation for everyone except me. Ryan stared at the screen. His expression shifted from confusion to disbelief, and then to a fury that matched mine. They took the house money? The money for the mold. There probably is no mold, Ryan, I said, laughing a dry, humorless laugh. I bet if we went to their house right now, the ceiling is just fine. Maybe a little water stain they painted over. Ryan slammed his hand on the counter. That is theft, Josh. That is fraud. You have to call the police. You have to sue them. No, I said, standing up. I'm not going to sue them. Not yet. Why the hell not? Because, I said, looking at the text from my mother asking me to fix her scanner. They don't know I know. They think I'm the idiot son. The bank. The doormat. I looked at Ryan. They think I'm going to come over this weekend and fix their scanner like a good little boy. You are not going over there, Ryan said firmly. Oh, I'm not, I replied. But I'm going to make them wish I did. Because in that moment, the Joshua who was the peacemaker died. The Joshua who wanted to be the good son evaporated. I looked at the photos one last time. 87 snapshots of my family having the time of their lives, funded by my hard work, my sacrifice, my naive trust. They wanted a tech guy? Fine. I would give them a tech guy. I was going to conduct a full digital forensic audit of their entire trip. I was going to find out exactly how much of my life savings went into Caleb's gas tank and Mom's champagne. Project Paris is a go, I said to Ryan. What is Project Paris? He asked. The end of the Mitchell family line, I said. For the next 3 days I lived a double life. To my family I was the dutiful, oblivious son. I replied to Mom's text about the scanner with, Sure, Mom. I'm slammed with work right now, but I'll try to swing by on Sunday. Hope the anniversary dinner at Luigi's was nice. She replied instantly, Oh, it was lovely. Just quiet. We missed you. We missed you. The phrase made me want to throw my phone through the drywall. They missed me while eating escargot in Montmartre. They missed me while sipping wine on the Seine. While I played nice, I went to work. I treated this investigation like I treated a competitor analysis at my job. I needed data. I needed hard numbers. I started with the photos. There were 87 of them, and I analyzed every single pixel. Exhibit A, the hotel. In photo number 41, there was a view from their hotel room window. Parisian rooftops, distinct wrought iron balconies. In the corner of the frame, I saw a monogrammed bathrobe draped over a chair. It was blurry, but I recognized the logo. The Ritz Paris. I went to their website. A standard room started at €1,800 a night. For 7 people, they needed at least 3 rooms. Or a suite. Calculation: 3 rooms x 5 nights x €1,800 equals €27,000. Approximate $29,000. Even if they got a deal or stayed fewer nights, we were talking massive money. Far more than my $20,000. Which meant they had blown through their own savings too, and this thought chilled me, they had taken out loans or credit cards in my name. I immediately checked my credit report. Clean. Thank God. They were just burning their own future alongside my money. Exhibit B, the food. Photo number 62. A dinner table. Just visible at the edge of the frame was a receipt Caleb had carelessly left near his wine glass. I zoomed in until the image pixelated, then used an AI sharpener tool I used for work. Le Jules Verne. The restaurant in the Eiffel Tower. The total bill visible at the bottom, €1,450. That's a $1,600 dinner. They told me they couldn't afford $4,000 to fix a transmission, but they ate a $1,600 dinner on a Tuesday. Exhibit C, the shopping. Braden was holding a Chanel bag in photo number 55. Not a knockoff. The leather had that specific sheen. The hardware was gold. Model, classic flap bag. Retail price, $10,000. Braden, who was constantly complaining about the custody schedule with her ex-husband before she remarried, and how she couldn't afford a lawyer to fight for more support. Braden, who was asking me to co-sign a loan. She was carrying 10 grand on her shoulder. And then Exhibit D, the car. I went back to the Ferrari, Caleb's rental. I called my friend Derek, who works in luxury travel. Hypothetically, I asked him, if I wanted to rent a Ferrari 488 in Paris for a week, what am I looking at? Derek laughed. Josh, you buying lottery tickets? That's steep. You need big insurance. Probably looking at $10,000 for the week, easy, plus a deposit that could be another $10,000 to $15,000. Thanks, Derek. So let's do the math. Hotel. $25,000 flights, 7 people. Last minute. Likely premium economy or business based on the legroom. $15,000 food and activities. $10 000 shopping/car. $15, 000 total estimated cost. $65,000. My $20,000 was just the down payment. It was the seed money that gave them the confidence to blow up their entire financial lives. They were acting like lottery winners, but they were actually financial suicide bombers. And I was the collateral damage. On Friday night, I was putting the finishing touches on my spreadsheet, titled The Audit, when my phone rang. It was Caleb. I stared at the screen. The urge to decline was strong, but I needed to hear his voice. I needed to hear the lie in real time. "Hey, Caleb," I answered, keeping my voice neutral. "Yo, Josh. What's up, man?" He sounded cheerful. Too cheerful. The sound of high-end Parisian wind still in his sails. "Long time no talk." "Yeah, been busy," I said. "How's the job hunt going?" "Oh, interviewing here and there. Actually, that's kinda why I'm calling. Here it comes." "So, look," Caleb continued, his voice dropping to that confidential, bro-to-bro tone he used when he wanted something. "I've got this huge opportunity. A friend of mine has a startup, really cool crypto stuff, and he wants me to come on board. But I need to buy some gear, like a new rig, some software." "Okay," I said. And I'm a little short. Dad's been tight with cash lately with the car and everything. I was wondering if you could spot me like $1,000, just until I get my first paycheck. I swear, bro, this is the one. I'm gonna pay you back with interest." I closed my eyes. $1,000. The Ferrari rental deposit probably hadn't been returned yet, or he'd blown it on bottle service. $1,000, I repeated. "Yeah, come on, Josh. You make that in like a day, right? Mr. Director." The envy. It was always there, simmering under the surface. He hated that I was successful, but he loved spending the fruits of my success. "I can't right now, Caleb," I said. "My money is tied up." "Tied up? In what? You didn't even go on vacation this year." The irony was so thick I could choke on it. "Just investments," I said. "Sorry." "Wow," Caleb scoffed. "Okay, whatever, man. Be like that. Family helps family, right? Guess that only goes one way." "Guess so," I said. "Good luck with the crypto." I hung up. My hand was shaking again. Family helps family. The next morning, Saturday, the requests kept coming. It was like they had coordinated a frantic grab for cash now that the Parisian high was wearing off and the credit card bills were looming. Braden called at 10 a.m. "Hey, big brother," she chirped. She sounded manic. "Hi, Braden. Listen, I have amazing news. We found a house. It's perfect. For bedrooms, big yard for the kids. It's in that school district we wanted." "That's great," I said. "The only thing is, well, with the divorce finalized last year and the new job, my credit score took a bit of a hit. And Mike's isn't great either. The bank says we need a cosigner. Just for the formality. It wouldn't actually affect you. It's just to get the approval stamp." I leaned back in my chair. Cosigner. She wanted me to put my name, and my credit, my financial future, on a mortgage for a house she couldn't afford, right after she bought a $10,000 handbag in Paris. "Braden, co-signing is a huge liability. If you miss a payment, the bank comes after me." "We won't miss a payment," she shrieked. "God, why do you always have to be so negative? We're good for it. We just need a break, Josh. You have everything. You have the perfect job, the perfect condo, the perfect partner. Why can't you help me get a crumb of happiness?" "A crumb?" I asked. "Like a croissant at a sidewalk cafe?" There was a silence on the line. A sharp, sudden intake of breath. "What?" she whispered. "Nothing," I said, covering my slip. I can't do it, Braden. I'm not co-signing a mortgage." She slammed the phone down. I sat there, looking at my spreadsheet. Wants labor, scanner repair. Caleb, Wants cash, $1,000. Braden. Wants credit, cosign. They were vampires, and I was the blood bank. They had drained me dry for their luxury trip, and now they were back for the last few drops. I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was Ryan. He placed a cup of coffee on the desk. You ready? He asked. Ready for what? To nuke them, Ryan said. You've got the evidence. You've got the rage. Stop letting them peck at you. Drop the bomb. I looked at the document I had created. Family_records_2024.pdf. It contained everything. Page 1, the timeline. The lie about the medical bills. Page 2. The bank transfer of $20,000 for the roof. Page 3. The Facebook album, screenshots of all the key photos. Page 4. The financial breakdown, the Ferrari, the Ritz, the Chanel. Page 5. The aftermath requests, screenshots of Mom's text. Notes on Caleb's call. Notes on Braden's call. It was a manifesto of their greed and my stupidity. I'm ready, I said, but I wasn't just going to send it to them. Oh no. Aunt Hunter had posted that album publicly. She had tagged all the aunts, uncles, and cousins. Uncle Robert, so jealous. Patricia, you've raised such a beautiful family. They wanted a public display of family unity. I would give them a public display of family truth. I'm not just sending it to Mom, I told Ryan. I'm sending it to the group chat. The extended family group chat. Ryan's eyes went wide. The one with Great Aunt Martha? And the cousins in Ohio. Everyone, I said. If they want to live in the spotlight, let's turn the brightness up. I opened my email client. I drafted a new message. Subject: regarding the anniversary trip and future financial requests. I attached the PDF. Then I started typing. Before I hit send, I hesitated. Not out of guilt, that emotion had been burned out of me, but out of a final need to be absolutely sure. I needed to see them, face to face, just once. I'm going over there, I told Ryan. What? No, Ryan protested. Josh, don't. It's going to be a screaming match. No screaming, I promised. Mom asked me to fix the scanner. I'm going to go fix the scanner. I want to see if they can look me in the eye. I drove to my parents' house on Sunday morning. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady on the wheel of my Volvo. I pulled into the driveway. The Lincoln Town car, the one with the broken transmission, was sitting there. I walked past it. I looked at the tires. They were dirty, but the car looked fine. I looked up at the roof. The roof I had paid $20,000 to replace. It looked exactly the same. Same weathered shingles. No patches of new asphalt. No dumpster for construction debris in the side yard. I rang the doorbell. Mom opened it. She looked tan, healthy. She was wearing a new cashmere sweater. Josh! She hugged me. She smelled like expensive perfume. Chanel No. 5. Likely bought duty-free at Charles de Gaulle Airport. I stood stiff in her embrace. Hey, Mom. Come in, come in. Dad is in the study. I walked into the house. It looked the same, but there were subtle changes. A new espresso machine on the counter, Breville, $800. A stack of French fashion magazines on the coffee table. Dad was sitting at his desk, frowning at his computer. Hey, Josh, he grunted. This damn thing won't connect to the printer. Hey, Dad, I said. How's the medical stuff going? Feeling better. He didn't even look up. Oh yeah, better. Medication is working. Just expensive, you know? Right? I said. And the car? The transmission? Still in the shop. He lied effortlessly. We borrowed a loaner. I looked out the window at the Lincoln in the driveway. The Lincoln is in the driveway, Dad. He froze, just for a second. Oh, yeah. We got it back, but it's acting up. Can't drive it far. Got it. I sat down at his computer. I fixed the scanner issue in 30 seconds. It was just unplugged from the USB port. Typical. All done, I said. Great, Dad said. Hey, while you're here, Mom said you sent some money for dinner the other night. Thanks for that. But we're looking at the property tax bill coming up. He trailed off, giving me that look. The look that meant, you have money, we raised you, pay up. I can't help with taxes, Dad, I said, standing up. I'm a little short. Short? Dad scoffed. With your salary? You just got promoted. Yeah, but I had some unexpected expenses, I said, staring him dead in the eye. Like a $20,000 roof repair. Dad flinched. He actually physically flinched. He looked at the ceiling, then back at me. Right, he mumbled. The roof. Yeah. Thank God for that. Is it done? I asked. Can I see the invoice? I need it for my taxes since it was a loan. Oh, we don't have the paperwork yet. Mom cut in, walking into the room with a tray of cookies. The contractor is slow, right? I said. Well, I gotta go. Wait, Mom said. Aren't you staying for lunch? Caleb is coming over. Braden and the kids. No, I said. I have a lot of work to do. I walked to the door. As I reached for the handle, I saw a magnet on the fridge. It was a picture of the Eiffel Tower. A cheap souvenir magnet. Nice magnet, I said. Mom's face went pale. Oh, that. Aunt Hunter sent it to us. From her trip. Nice of her, right? Yeah, I said. Very nice. I walked out. I got in my car. I drove 1 block away, pulled over, and screamed. I screamed until my throat was raw. They lied to my face. In the house I saved. About the money I gave them. I drove home. I walked into the apartment. Ryan was waiting. Well? He asked. They lied, I said. About everything. The car was in the driveway. The roof hasn't been touched. Dad asked for property tax money. Mom said the magnet was a gift from Hunter. I sat down at my computer. I opened the draft email. Subject: regarding the anniversary trip and future financial requests. To Mom, Dad, Caleb, Braden, CC, Aunt Hunter, Uncle Mike, Cousin Sarah, Grandpa Joe, the entire extended family list. I took a deep breath. You sure about this? Ryan asked, his hand on my shoulder. I'm not angry anymore, Ryan, I said, my voice eerily calm. I'm just done. I'm done being the bank. I'm done being the backup plan. I'm done being the only adult in this room. I read the email one last time. Hi Mom, Dad, Caleb, and Braden. I saw Aunt Hunter's Facebook album of the Paris trip. All 87 photos. I also saw the receipts visible in the photos. The Ferrari rental. The Ritz hotel robes. The Chanel bag. I noticed the trip happened during the exact dates we were supposed to be celebrating together. About 5 days after you called me crying, claiming poverty and medical bills. I've documented everything in the attached file, including the $20,000 wire transfer I sent for a roof repair that never happened, and which matches the date of your flight bookings. I'm not angry. I'm not hurt. Those emotions require a baseline expectation of being valued, and clearly, that expectation was misplaced on my part. What I am is done. Done pretending we're a close family. Done being available whenever any of you need something while being conveniently forgettable when it comes to actually being included. Done accepting crumbs of attention while watching everyone else share full meals funded by my savings. To answer your questions, Mom, no, I will not come fix your electronics anymore. Braden, no, I will not co-sign your loan. Good luck with the house. Caleb, no, I will not give you $1,000 for gear. Maybe return the Ferrari rental earlier next time. Dad, no, I will not pay your property taxes. What I will do is step back from this family dynamic entirely and build a life with people who actually want me in it. Don't bother explaining. I'm not interested in excuses. The cancellation email exists. The photos exist. The timeline is clear. I hope Paris was worth it. Joshua, I hovered my mouse over the send button. This was the nuclear option. This would destroy holidays. This would alienate me from everyone. This would change my life forever. Do it, Ryan whispered. I clicked send. The message showed as sent. Then, almost immediately, the little notifications started popping up. Read, read, read. I had sent it to everyone. Not just the 4 of them. I sent it to Aunt Hunter, the one who posted the album, Uncle Bob, my cousins in Ohio, even my grandmother. I sat there, staring at the screen, adrenaline coursing through my veins like ice water. It's done, I said. For 3 minutes, there was silence. Absolute, heavy silence. Then the phone on my desk buzzed. Mom. I stared at it. I didn't answer. It stopped. It buzzed again immediately. Mom. Then Dad. Then Caleb. My phone looked like a slot machine hitting a jackpot of panic. Ryan reached over and flipped my phone face down. Don't. Not yet. A text message came through on my computer. I had iMessage linked. Caleb. Dude. WTF? Take that down. Now. Grandma is on the thread. I laughed. A harsh, barking laugh. He wasn't sorry. He was worried about Grandma finding out. Another text. Braden. You are ruining my life. Mike sees this. The bank might see this. You are so selfish, Joshua. Mom. Joshua, please answer. It's a misunderstanding. We wanted to surprise you, but... Please, call me. Your father is having chest pains. Chest pains, I said aloud, reading the text to Ryan. Classic. The medical emergency card. Right on schedule. Don't fall for it, Ryan said. I won't. I turned off my phone completely. I shut down my email client. I'm hungry, I said. Let's order Thai food. We sat in the living room, eating pad Thai, while my phone, which I had turned back on but set to do not disturb, silently accumulated a mountain of missed calls. 47 missed calls. 63 text messages. But the real action was happening elsewhere. My cousin Sarah, Aunt Hunter's daughter, texted me separately. Josh, holy SHT, is this real? Did they really take your roof money for Paris? Asterisk, I replied. See page 2 of the PDF. Wire transfer confirmation versus flight booking date. Sarah. OMG. Mom is freaking out. She had no idea. She thought you just couldn't get time off work. They told everyone you were too busy with the big promotion to come. So that was the narrative. I was the workaholic son who abandoned the family for his career. They had painted me as the villain to cover their exclusion, all while spending my money. Then the intercom to our apartment building buzzed. It was 9 p.m. on a Sunday. Ryan walked to the intercom. Who is it? It's your mother, Ryan. Let me in. I know Joshua is there. Her voice was shrill, distorted by the speaker. Ryan looked at me. She's here. Don't let her in, I said. Mrs. Mitchell, Ryan said calmly into the intercom. Josh isn't taking visitors right now. Please leave. I am his mother. I raised him. You let me in or I will scream the building down. I stood up. I walked to the intercom. Mom, I said. My voice was steady. Go home. Joshua. Honey, please. You have to understand. It was a mistake. We didn't mean to hurt you. We needed a break. You're so strong, you don't need us like Caleb and Braden do. Please. The PDF. Everyone is calling us. Uncle Bob is asking for the money he lent Dad back. You have to send a retraction. Tell them it was a joke. A joke? I asked. Like the transmission? Like the roof? We'll pay you back, she screamed. We'll pay you back every cent. Just fix this. You can't pay me back, I said. You spent it on Ferraris and Chanel. You're broke, Mom. And I'm not your ATM anymore. I have no son, she shrieked. It was a movie line, delivered with zero irony. If you do this, you are dead to me. I think, I said, leaning my forehead against the cool plastic of the intercom, that I've been dead to you for a long time. I was just a ghost writing checks. I released the button. I heard her sobbing for a minute, then silence. Then the sound of the Lincoln, the one with the miraculous transmission, starting up and driving away. I went back to the couch. I felt drained, hollowed out, but I also felt lighter. The heavy weight of obligation, the constant low-level anxiety about their problems, their debts, their drama, it was gone. I had cut the cord. This is the moment that changes everything. When I finally took back control of my life, turned off the vibrating phone, and poured myself a glass of wine. Cheap wine, but it tasted better than their fake first-class champagne ever could. Thank you for being patient with me to get here. You guys are amazing. Please hit that like button and comment Team Josh below so I know you're riding with me. It helps more people find this story. And honestly, seeing your support reminds me I'm not crazy for doing this. Your support is the biggest motivation for me to share the rest of this journey. The next morning, Monday, I woke up to a new world, a quieter world. I had blocked Mom, Dad, Caleb, and Braden on my phone, but I kept them unblocked on social media. I wanted to see the blast radius. It was catastrophic. Aunt Hunter had deleted the album, but the comments on her other posts were wild. Uncle Bob had posted on Dad's wall, "Robert, call me. We need to talk about the investment you asked for last year." Now, apparently, I wasn't the only one they had tapped for cash. I went to work. I told my assistant, mild-mannered Jessica, "If anyone named Mitchell calls, tell them I'm in a meeting, indefinitely. If they show up, call security." Jessica looked at me with wide eyes. "Everything okay, boss?" "Better than ever, Jess," I said, and I meant it. Around noon, I got an email from Dad. Since I blocked his number, he resorted to his work email. Subject, repayment plan. "Joshua, what you did was unforgivable. You humiliated us in front of the whole family. Grandma is distraught. However, we are family. We want to make this right. We can pay you back $200 a month starting next year. Please delete the email and tell everyone you were confused. Love, Dad." $200 a month. To pay back $20,000. That would take 100 months. Over 8 years. And that wasn't even counting the interest or the emotional damage. And starting next year? I didn't reply. I simply moved the email into a folder labeled evidence. Tuesday passed. Wednesday passed. The silence from my end was driving them crazy. They were used to me folding. They were used to me apologizing for their mistakes. But the silence from the extended family was worse for them. My cousins stopped liking their posts. Aunt Hunter stopped inviting Mom to the weekly brunch. They were social pariahs. Then, on Thursday, the inevitable happened. I got a notification from a legal service. Braden was threatening to sue me for defamation. She claimed my email had caused her emotional distress and damaged her reputation with her mortgage lender. I called my own lawyer, a sharp woman named Elena who handled my company's contracts. "Elena, look at this," I said, forwarding the threat. Elena laughed. "Truth is an absolute defense against defamation. Josh, did they go to Paris? Yes. Did they take your money? Yes. Do you have proof? Yes. Let them sue. I'll countersue for the $20,000 fraud plus legal fees. They won't make it past the filing clerk." I felt a surge of power. I wasn't the helpless little brother anymore. I was a man with resources, with truth, and with a lawyer. But the emotional toll was real. I had nightmares about being at the airport, watching them board a plane while I was stuck behind a glass wall, screaming. Ryan held me when I woke up sweating. "You're safe," he'd say. "You're free." On Friday, I received a package. It was a check. From Caleb. Amount, $50. Memo, for the roof. It was a joke. An insult. But it was also an admission. He knew. They all knew. I took a picture of the check and added it to my evidence folder. That weekend, I finally went grocery shopping. I was in the produce aisle, picking out apples, when I saw someone familiar. It was Nathan, Braden's 15-year-old son. My nephew. He was pushing a cart for his mom, who was waiting in the car. She was probably too ashamed to be seen in public. Nathan saw me and froze. He looked terrified. He thought I hated him too. "Hey, Uncle Josh," he mumbled, looking at his shoes. My heart broke. This kid was innocent. He was just a passenger on their crazy train. "Hey, Nate," I said gently. "How are you?" He looked up, tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Uncle Josh. I wanted to tell you. I really did." "Tell me what?" "About the trip," he whispered. "We had a family meeting. Before we left, Grandma said we couldn't tell you because you'd be jealous and try to stop us. She said you were too controlling with your money." Mom and Uncle Caleb agreed. "They made us promise not to post anything until we got back so you wouldn't know until it was over." I felt the air leave my lungs. A meeting. A conspiracy. It wasn't just a lie of omission. It was a planned, coordinated strategy to defraud me and exclude me. They sat around a table, probably eating food I paid for, and agreed to lie to my face. "It's okay, Nate," I said, putting a hand on his shoulder. "You're a kid. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong." "I missed you there," he said. It was weird without you." Grandma and Grandpa fought the whole time about money. Caleb crashed the rental car and they had to pay a huge fine. It wasn't even fun. Twist. Caleb crashed the Ferrari. That's why he needed the $1,000. Not for gear. For the deductible or the damage fee. "They crashed the car?" I asked. "Yeah, into a bollard." The rental place was super mad. I almost laughed. Of course they did. "Thanks for telling me, Nate," I said. "Hey, you know I love you, right? This is between me and the adults." "I know," he said. Can we still hang out? Maybe play video games sometime?" "I'd love that," I said. "Text me. Don't tell your mom." "I won't." He walked away. I stood in the produce aisle holding an apple. I had lost my parents. I had lost my siblings. But I hadn't lost everyone. And I had gained something much more valuable. The truth. They say the truth shall set you free. They don't tell you that sometimes. The truth hurts like hell first. But as I walked out of that store, walking toward my reliable Volvo, toward the home I shared with a man who truly loved me, I realized I was finally truly free. 2 years later, I pulled into the driveway of my new home. It wasn't just a house. It was a sanctuary. Ryan and I had built it custom. A modern glass and wood structure tucked away in the hills overlooking Seattle. It was everything the roof money was supposed to save, but infinitely better because it was actually ours. I turned off the engine of my car. A Porsche 911 Carrera S. Slate gray. I want to talk about the car for a second. I didn't buy it to show off. I didn't buy it to post on Instagram with hashtags like #blessed or #lumbalife. I bought it 6 months after the email, because, for the first time in my life, I looked at my bank account and realized something terrifying and wonderful. Nobody was draining it. For a decade, I had driven a sensible Volvo because I was terrified that if I spent money on myself, I wouldn't have enough to bail Caleb out of jail, or pay for Braden's divorce lawyer, or fix my parents' imaginary transmission issues. I had been hoarding money like a squirrel preparing for a nuclear winter, except the winter was just my family's incompetence. When I bought the Porsche, I paid cash. I drove it off the lot, and I cried. Not because I love material objects, but because that steering wheel felt like freedom. It was the physical manifestation of the boundaries I had finally built. I walked inside. The house was quiet. Ryan was in the kitchen chopping vegetables. He looked up and smiled. a real, easy smile that reached his eyes. "Hey," he said. "How was the quarterly review?" "Brutal," I laughed, kissing him. "But good. Joseph wants to talk about expanding the Asia-Pacific division." He hinted at another bump in salary and stock options. "Mr. VP," Ryan teased. "VP. Vice President. That had happened last year." My career had skyrocketed the moment I stopped spending 40% of my mental energy managing my family's crises. It turns out, when you aren't dreading a phone call from your mother asking for a loan, you have a lot more bandwidth to innovate at work. "There's a letter for you," Ryan said, his tone shifting slightly. He pointed to the kitchen island. "No return address." But I recognized the handwriting. I froze. It had been quiet for a long time. After the initial explosion, the threats of lawsuits, and the pathetic attempts at guilt-tripping, they had gone silent. The no-contact order I had enforced was holding. I walked over to the envelope. It was cream-colored linen paper, my mother's favorite stationery. She used to write thank-you notes on this paper to the neighbors she wanted to impress. I didn't open it immediately. I just stared at it. "Do you want me to shred it?" Ryan asked. He was holding a knife over the carrots, but his eyes were locked on me, protective and fierce. "No," I said. "I need to see. Curiosity, I guess." I opened it. "My dearest Joshua, I hope this letter finds you well. I heard from Aunt Hunter, who I am speaking to again, briefly, that you got promoted. Congratulations. Your father and I always knew you were destined for greatness. I am writing because I have been doing a lot of thinking. The silence these past 2 years has been a heavy burden on my heart. A mother should never be estranged from her firstborn. I look at baby pictures of you and I just weep. We have made mistakes. I admit that. We let the excitement of the anniversary cloud our judgment. We should have included you. We were wrong. Your father isn't doing well. The stress has taken a toll on his heart. And Caleb is having a hard time finding his footing. The world is so harsh to young men these days. I'm not asking for us to go back to how things were immediately, but perhaps we could meet for coffee? Just you and me. No money talk. Just a mother and her son. I love you, Mom. P.S. enclosed is a small memento I found. I shook the envelope. The photo fell out. It was me and Dad fishing when I was 7 years old. A tactical strike on my nostalgia. I felt a lump form in my throat. It was a good letter. It hit all the right notes. Apology? Check. Flattery? Check. Sentimental value? Check. She wants to meet, I said, handing the letter to Ryan. He read it, his face unreadable. And maybe she's changed? It's been 2 years. Maybe the consequences actually forced them to grow up. Ryan put the letter down. Flip it over. What? The letter. Flip the last page over. I turned the last sheet of the letter over. I hadn't noticed there was text on the back because the paper was thick. There, scrawled in a hurried, different ink, like she had added it at the last second, unable to help herself, was a postscript. P.P.S. The IRS is auditing us regarding the gift tax on the roof money you sent. Apparently, since you claimed it as a loan on your taxes and we didn't declare it, there are penalties. It's a mess. If we meet, maybe you could bring your accountant's contact info, and perhaps we could discuss a small settlement to make this go away. It's about $5,000. We are drowning, Josh. I stared at the words. The air left the room. The IRS audit. Of course. When I filed my taxes that year, I had declared the $20,000 as a bad debt/loan loss because they never paid me back. I did it legally. I did it by the book. The IRS must have flagged them because they likely treated it as income or didn't report it at all, and then spent it on luxury goods. The coffee wasn't about reconnection. It was about tax fraud. She wanted me to fix her IRS problem. She wanted $5,000. Unbelievable, I whispered. The sadness vanished, replaced by a cold, hard validation. She almost had me. She almost had me with the fishing photo. They never change, Josh, Ryan said softly. People like that, they don't change. They just change tactics. I took the letter and the photo. I walked over to the gas stove. Josh! I turned on the burner. The blue flame flickered to life. I held the corner of the cream-colored linen paper to the flame. Caught instantly. I watched the words, "My dearest Joshua," turn to ash. I watched "I love you" curl up and vanish in smoke. Then I burned the fishing photo. Coffee sounds terrible, I said, dropping the burning remnants into the sink and turning on the water. I think I'll stick to wine. But the real update on the family didn't come from that letter. Came from Nathan. A week later, I was sitting in a coffee shop downtown, waiting. I checked my watch. The door opened, and a tall, lanky kid walked in. Took me a second to recognize him. Nathan was 17 now. He had filled out, lost the braces, and looked like a young man. Uncle Josh. Nate. I stood up and hugged him. He hugged me back. A real firm hug. We sat down. I had ordered him a large mocha and a croissant. Ironic, I know, but the kid loved them. You look great, Nathan said, eyeing my suit. Mom says you're basically Bezos now. I laughed. Not quite, but I'm doing okay. How are you? How's senior year? Nathan looked down at his cup. His demeanor shifted. The brightness faded, replaced by a weariness that didn't belong on a 17-year-old's face. It's a lot, he said. That's actually why I wanted to see you. I'm applying to colleges. I got into UW and a few others out of state. That's amazing, Nate. Congratulations. Yeah, he said, not smiling. But Mom, she says there's no money. The college fund Grandpa supposedly set up for me, it's gone. My stomach tightened. Gone? How? Paris, Nathan said flatly. And the aftermath. He took a sip of his coffee, then looked me in the eye. You want to know what really happened after you cut them off? I think I do. It was like Lord of the Flies, Nathan said. After you sent that email, Uncle Caleb freaked out. The rental car company in Paris, Elite Rent-A-Car? They charged Grandpa's credit card for the damage to the Ferrari. 12,000 euros. It maxed out the card. I nodded. I had suspected as much. Then, Nathan continued, because they had no cash flow, since you weren't covering the emergencies anymore, they started taking out payday loans to cover the minimum payments on the credit cards. It spiraled. Fast. And Caleb? I asked. Caleb is back in the basement, Nathan scoffed. He tried to launch that crypto thing? It was a scam. He got sued by some investors. Grandma and Grandpa used their retirement savings to hire a lawyer for him to keep him out of jail. That's where my college fund went. Legal fees for Caleb. I felt a surge of rage, hot and sharp. They sacrificed the grandson's future to save the golden child from his own stupidity. Again. Braden is... She's bitter, Nathan said. She blames you. She says if you hadn't snitched to the family, she could have gotten that house loan from Uncle Bob. Now nobody will lend them a dime. She and my dad are fighting constantly about money. They might get a divorce. Another one. It was a tragedy. A Shakespearean tragedy of their own making. Nate, I said, leaning forward. Look at me. He looked up, his eyes watery. You are not going to lose your future because of them. How much do you need for the first year? Josh, no. He shook his head. I didn't come here to ask for money. I swear. I wanted advice on student loans. I don't want to be like them. I want to earn it. I know you do, I said. And that's exactly why I'm going to help you. It's not a gift. It's an investment. You're the only stock in that gene pool worth buying. He cracked a smile. I will cover your tuition, I said firmly. On one condition. What? You maintain a 3.0 GPA, and you do not give a single cent of it to your mother, your grandmother, or Caleb. If I find out you bought Caleb a pack of gum, I pull the funding. This is for you. To get out. To break the cycle. Nathan stared at me. A tear rolled down his cheek. You'd really do that? After everything they did to you? I'm not doing it for them, I said. I'm doing it because you were the only one who told me the truth in the grocery store. Honesty pays dividends, Nate. Remember that. He wiped his eyes. Thank you. I won't let you down. I know. We talked for another hour. He told me about his engineering projects, his girlfriend, his plans to move into the dorms and get away from the toxicity of his house. As I drove home that day, in my car that I paid for, heading to the home I owned, knowing I had just secured my nephew's future, I realized something profound. The inheritance I lost, the money, the family connection, the history, was the price of admission for the life I had now. And it was a bargain. The day of the wedding was overcast, a typical Seattle gray, but to me, the light looked silver. We weren't getting married in a church. We weren't getting married in a banquet hall. We were getting married on a private ferry boat, cruising the Puget Sound. Just 40 people. Our closest friends, selected colleagues, and the people who actually mattered. There was no bride's side or groom's side, just our side. I was in the small cabin below deck, adjusting my tie. It was a deep emerald green velvet. Ryan loved this tie. My best man was Joseph. Yes, my boss. Over the last 2 years, he had become more than a mentor. He was the father figure I had always craved. He was stern, fair, and incredibly generous with his wisdom. You nervous? Joseph asked, handing me a glass of aged scotch. About the marriage? No, I said, taking a sip. About the speech? Maybe. You're a storyteller, Josh. Joseph clapped me on the back. Just tell the truth. It's worked out pretty well for you lately. I checked my phone one last time. Habit. There were no messages from Mom. No messages from Caleb. I had finally, truly blocked them on everything. Email, social media, phone. Even LinkedIn. I heard through the grapevine, Sarah again, that they knew about the wedding. They were furious they weren't invited. Mom had apparently staged a fainting spell at the grocery store when she heard the date, hoping word would get back to me. It didn't work. Time to go up, Joseph said. I walked up the stairs to the deck. The wind was crisp. The deck was decorated with white roses and driftwood. Simple, elegant, real. And there they were, my family, not the people who shared my DNA, not the people who shared my last name, but the people who showed up. There was Sarah, my cousin, beaming in a blue dress. She had been the leak, the spy, and ultimately a staunch defender. There was Elena, my lawyer, who had terrified Braden into silence. There was Jessica, my assistant, who had guarded my gate like a Cerberus. And there, standing in the front row, looking sharp in a rented tuxedo, was Nathan. He gave me a thumbs up. He was the only link to the past I allowed, and he was there representing the future. Then the music started. An acoustic version of Simply the Best. Ryan walked down the aisle. He looked perfect. He was wearing a cream-colored suit that made his skin glow. His eyes locked onto mine, and the rest of the world fell away. I thought about the 87 photos. I thought about the matching red scarves in Paris. I thought about the fake smiles in front of the Eiffel Tower. That was a performance. That was content for Facebook. This was reality. We stood before the officiant, our friend Derek, the travel agent who had helped me bust them. When it was time for the vows, I took a deep breath. I hadn't written them down. I didn't need to. Ryan, I began. My voice caught just for a second. 2 years ago, I was sitting in a kitchen, eating cold pizza, feeling like the loneliest person on earth. I thought I had lost my family. I thought I had lost my history. I squeezed his hands. But the truth is, I was just making room. I was clearing out the clutter to make space for the real thing. You stood by me when I was angry. You stood by me when I was sad. You stood by me when I was vindictive. The crowd chuckled. You taught me that love isn't a transaction, I continued. It's not about what I can fix for you, or what I can buy for you, or how many problems I can solve. You love me even when I'm broken, especially when I'm broken. I looked out at the guests, locking eyes with Nathan, then Joseph, then back to Ryan. Family isn't blood. Blood is just biology. Family is who holds your hand when the roof caves in, literally and metaphorically. Family is who tells you the truth, even when it hurts. Family is who shows up. I took the ring, a simple band of brushed gold. I vow to be your family, Ryan. Today, tomorrow, and every day. No conditions. No fine print. Just us. Ryan was crying. I was crying. Even Joseph was wiping his eyes. We exchanged rings. We kissed. The boat horn blasted, echoing off the water. As we walked back down the aisle, surrounded by cheers and bubbles, I felt a lightness that is hard to describe. It was the absence of weight, the absence of the invisible backpack of guilt I had carried since I was a child. The reception was a blur of joy. We ate incredible food. Not $1,600 French food, but locally sourced salmon and oysters. We danced. At one point, I found myself leaning against the railing, looking out at the city lights of Seattle. Nathan came over and stood next to me. "Good party," he said. "The best," I agreed. "I have something for you," he said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, crumpled piece of paper. "I wasn't going to give it to you, but I think you should have it. For closure." He handed it to me. It was a receipt from a pawn shop, dated 3 days ago. Item: 14K gold watch, engraved to Robert Love Cameron, 25th anniversary. Amount: $450. "Grandpa sold his anniversary watch," Nathan said quietly, "to pay the electric bill." I looked at the receipt.